Hey, what's up, everybody? This is my quick picks punishment. I was the big loser in the month of October, and even though it is that I host a quasi betting show, I mean, I'm the only show that really on this channel that really does a lot of betting. About half the show, I would say, is betting. So I'm supposed to be the gambling so-called expert on the show, even though it seems like I'm the worst at making picks. So I just, as my punishment, I have to go through all of my worst picks, or some of my worst picks from the season. It wasn't just quick picks, just some of my worst predictions and picks. And I also am going to talk a little bit about Chad Pennington's downfall. So I guess you could have fun at my expense with all of this. Uh, all right, so you could see this. Uh, Whoops. Hold on. Let me go back. My worst picks of 2022. Here we go. A lot have involved the Raiders. Here's probably my worst one. I picked the Raiders to beat the Saints. I don't know why. I think I was too high on the Raiders. I guess I tend to do that a little bit. The Saints ended up winning 24-0. This loss was so bad. Josh McDaniels felt the need to apologize to the fans. Not sure what I was thinking. Not that crazy that I didn't think that they would beat that I thought they would beat the Saints, but I guess here we are. All right. Here's another. This was my lock of the week. I swear to God, this was my lock of the week on Out of Line. It's always a bad look when you lose your lock of the week, I would say. Florida minus 14.5 was my lock of the week, and it was from last week's show, and Vanderbilt somehow beat Florida. I'm still stunned. Vanderbilt, who hasn't won an SEC game since 2019, was somehow able to beat two pretty solid teams 2 weeks in a row. That's pretty unbelievable. But I think it says more about Florida than it does about Vanderbilt because, Florida just totally sucked. And part of the reason it was my lock of the week is because I was going on and on about how Florida's not that bad of a team because they only lose to good teams. So I guess that kind of went out the window. That made me look really stupid. Clearly, that's not true. I would say clearly that's not true. So my whole reasoning was, oh, Florida, they at least lose to good teams. I guess I was wrong about that. So screw Florida for making me look bad and ruining my reputation. And I'm, a college guy. I bet way more in college, so this made me look really bad. At least I have that to say about losing an NFL contest. All right, here's another one, another bad one. Not so much made me look stupid, but just a really bad one. So here's a before. And an after. Yeah, I know. So the Raiders, they were obviously ahead 20-0 at halftime. They blew that whole lead. They literally kicked one field goal the entire second half. That was the they kicked one field goal the entire second half. That was all they scored the entire second half. That's pathetic. What's even more pathetic is that in the middle of the game, Raiders fans were popping champagne. They were popping champagne because they were winning against the Cardinals, who at who are at best a mediocre team, probably even less. that says a lot about the Raiders and the fact that the fact that the fans were celebrating something like that. Uh, you know, sounds like something. Honestly, it sounds like something the Jets would do, and that was way worse of a loss than the Jets have had. So that's a pretty bad one, I would say. A really bad one. Raiders. That's another one. In fact, I think most of my really bad picks have involved the Raiders. Most of them. So you could. I mean, I didn't put it in this presentation, but when the Raiders lost to Jeff Saturday in his first game, that's another one. That was pretty bad. Pretty bad. Um, Maybe I'm just really bad at predicting NFL games, I guess you could say. They also lost in the most Raiders fashion. I misspelled fashion. Great. They lost basically on a fumble, um, which is the most Raiders thing that could happen. Um, when they after they were winning the whole game, they lost. Basically, what happened the play 2 plays before, I think 2 plays before was the Raiders fumbled but recovered, for a while it was like a pile up, so it looked like maybe they weren't going to recover. And then literally like 2 plays later, Hunter Renfro fumbles. Byron Murphy from the Cardinals picks it up and runs into the end zone for a touchdown. So the Cardinals offense didn't even touch the ball in overtime. And the Raiders still managed to lose that game after being up 20 to nothing. After that unbelievable tweet from the Raiders Twitter account that said 20 nothing, now we got to finish it off or whatever whatever it was. Um so it's that's a pretty bad one. So I guess I should stop betting on the Raiders because I always think they're going to win when they're not. So maybe I should stop doing that. Okay, so here's another one of my horrible picks. Uh, to be fair, I'm not the only one who made this pick. In my defense, it was a trap game, total trap game. The Vikings were underdogs. I should have known, especially considering the Cowboys are a pretty good team. This perfectly represents what happened in the game, I would say. Um, so I had the Vikings over the Cowboys. Not only did I lose this game, I would say this game made history. Dallas beat them 40-3, which is the biggest margin of victory in on the road in Cowboys history. Um, I even confidently picked the Vikings, which makes me feel even worse. Um, I don't know what to say. This I mean, it was such a bad pick that it made history. That's how bad it was. I picked against history. And the beating was so bad. The Cowboys put such a bad beating on the Vikings that CBS switched the coverage in the middle of the third quarter. That's how bad it was. In the middle of like the third quarter, they were just like, "All right, we're done with this. We can't show this anymore." So, there's that. Um, but like I said, a bunch of people picked them, but they're they're not the only ones. They're not the ones being punished. I'm just saying, for the record, in my defense, I'm not like the only one who picked the Vikings, but it makes all of us who picked the Vikings look like fools. All right, so finally, I'm going to mention, the immortal Chad Pennington. Um, so I don't have many notes about this. I don't have that many notes about this about Chad Pennington, but I'm just going to talk about it a little. So it starts off as actually a pretty okay story. We drafted, so I'm just going to get into the history of the man known as Chad Pennington for a minute or two. Chad Pennington was drafted by the Jets in 2000. Um, he we made the playoffs. The first We made the playoffs in 2001 and 2002 with him, and I think 2004. Yeah, 2004. Uh, and we made the playoffs again. We went 10-6 in 2006, and this is really where it's important. In 2006, we went 10-6, and we made the playoffs. We lost to the Patriots in the first round. But we made it as a wild card team. So we had some confidence going into the next year. And in 2007, Chad Pennington, I mean, he was very injury prone, obviously. He was very fragile. He was never able to stay healthy. And he basically, uh, it's just that in 2007, he got benched because he sucked. We went one as a starter, we went 1-7. So he had to have been one of the worst quarterbacks in the league that year. He never had a great arm or anything. And basically that was coming off like, oh, we were going into the year kind of confident because we were able to go 10-6 the year before and make the playoffs. But uh, we he was just so bad in 2007, and that was it. Basically, that's the end of the Chad Pennington story. A couple of good runs, a whole lot of injuries, and just being horrible in 2007. I don't know what happened. To make matters worse, he was drafted the same year in the first round as Tom Brady. So the Jets could have had Tom Brady. Even after getting Pennington, we could have gotten Tom Brady. But we thought we didn't need Tom Brady because we had Chad Pennington. Imagine being that. So I'm not saying the Jets were the only ones. I'm not even saying I'm not saying that the Jets were the only ones who did that. I guess you could say a lot of teams did, but just imagine feeling that way. Oh, we don't need Tom Brady because we have Chad Pennington. It's just so laughable. Um, Honestly, that's not even I'm not even sure if that's even the worst Jets draft decision in history. I mean, consequentially, it was the worst one, but I mean, there were ones that were probably even stupider on its face. Um, like, I mean, drafting Jamal Adams instead of Patrick Mahomes. I guess at the time nobody knew, but that might look even dumber on its face. We could have um, we could have had Warren Sapp, but instead we drafted Kyle Brady. So the Jets are known for this kind of stupidity, where in hindsight, at least, we look really, really bad. So that's why I don't care if the Jets lose draft picks. We just suck at it. So anyway, that's my punishment. Uh, Thanks for watching me suffer.